Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Well, I rise this afternoon to reflect on what I think has been a tremendously good and positive and applied debate this afternoon. And I can't say, in terms of my 21 years in this House, that's always been the case. Indeed, I've attended, I think, virtually every climate change debate that there has been in this House. It is shocking that we haven't had one for 2 years in this House. But on those occasions, they were characterised usually by a claque of climate change deniers who attempted on a regular basis to derail the debate. And I think it is perhaps a reflection of where we have got to now. I have to say that one of the last remaining serious climate change deniers in our House, the Honourable Member for Monmouth, I thought he was going to be in the debate this afternoon, but it turned out he wanted to talk about Welsh tourism. So we have a mercy on as far as that is concerned. But what I want to say as far as the debate is concerned this afternoon, that we are all together in this House, perhaps all together for the first time when it is almost too late. And everything that has been said by climate scientists in all those debates, referring to all those debates that I've been involved in my long time in the House, are coming true, are proving to be right. And that we perhaps shouldn't talk about a climate change debate, we should talk about a climate is changing debate. And that doesn't make me smug that actually what I was saying in those debates proved to be right and what those climate change deniers were saying in the debate proved to be wrong. It makes me scared stiff, to be honest, because of the 2 minutes to 12 that we are now in terms of the climate emergency that is in front of us. And I want to thank all the honourable members this afternoon who in different ways contributed, I think, to that central point. The honourable member indeed for Oxford Western Abingdon, who I want to thank for attaining this debate this afternoon. And I might say, in terms of those honourable members who, such as the honourable member for Bristol North West, honourable member for Cardiff North, who pointed out just how little time we've had for these debates, it might be appropriate, I think, for the Minister to consider that the point at which we get the Committee on Climate Change's advice about net zero for the future, that she makes sure that we can have a debate about that and its implications and its ramifications in government time, at least half a day, as far as this House is concerned, well, a whole day if we want to be as ambitious as that, to get those points seriously across and to allow honourable members the time properly to put across what they want to say about this climate emergency and what we need to do to deal with it. And of course I'm scared stiff because what I know in terms of that climate emergency, the ability to do anything about it is on our watch in this House now. Yeah. Most of the people who will be members of Parliament over the next few years will actually be members of Parliament during that period, that 12 years that we've got from the IPCC report to actually, as it were, get our act together on climate change or forever miss the opportunity to do anything about it at all. And
thank my friend for giving way. He's making a very important point, the vital time constraints we have, and that this House hasn't done nearly enough to debate this issue. Does he agree with me that it's critical that other government departments, not just BEIS, focus on the implications of climate change, particularly such as transport, healthcare, defence, etc., and understand the impact they have in government policy in shaping a holistic approach to policy making across all parts of government?
My honourable makes a very important point, which is that the action we need to be taking in this House for the future needs to be action which isn't just the province of one particular department. Indeed, the honourable member for Brighton Pavilion, I think, made this point in our debate this afternoon. It needs to be something that actually seeps to the core of every single part of government and every single part of this House. That everything we do is judged by whether we are making progress on reducing carbon emissions and fighting the effects of climate change, or whether it is going in the opposite direction. And in that context, I want to draw the House's attention to what we have done so far and what we hope, going to do for the future, because that is absolutely crucial in terms of moving from our 80% target, by 80% reduction on greenhouse gases by 2050, target that we have at the moment, to that net zero target. And of course, a net zero target doesn't just mean doing things that reduce carbon. It means doing things that actually put carbon back in the ground, negative carbon emissions as well as positive carbon emissions. It means actually planning a whole different system of doing things, as my honourable friend, the member for Norwich North, and indeed my honourable friend, the member for Cardiff North, also drew attention to. Doing things in different ways to actually make that change in our economy so that we have a permanent, low-carbon, sustainable economy for the future. And in that context, I will give way on this occasion, but I'm really running out of time.
I'd be grateful to him. Just before he moves off that point, would he agree with me that actually one of the more encouraging signs is the technology is being developed for carbon reuse, which doesn't necessarily mean putting it back in the ground, but at least recycles it?
Yes, indeed. The right honourable member is absolutely correct that using carbon cycles so that they are as long as possible and that in the end they are sequestered is a good way of actually ensuring that we make our economy as circular as possible, in addition to sequestering the carbon that is arising from it. We have, Madam Deputy Speaker, in front of us the government's Clean Growth Plan, and that was a clean growth plan that was set out in response to the 5th carbon budget requirements, which among other things require us to get our carbon emissions down by 57% since 1990 at the end of the 5th carbon budget. And I have to say to the House that as far as that Clean Growth Plan is concerned, it fails. It fails to do what it says it's going to do about the 5th carbon budget. And indeed, it suggests that we may be as high as 9.7% over the targets for the 5th carbon budget in terms of the things that the government is setting out to do as far as that carbon budget is concerned. So absolutely the first thing we need to do in terms of considering what we are doing as far as progress towards zero carbon is concerned is to make over fundamentally that clean growth plan so that it actually does work, not just to achieve the terms of the 5th carbon budget, but actually go beyond that so that we are ready and setting ourselves up for the advice we are going to get from the Committee on Climate Change as to how we get to zero carbon. And I would invite the government to actually start work today on getting that clean growth plan reorganised so that it actually can meet the terms of net zero when they come to us. And can I say that were the government to embark on that strategy, they would have the full support of the opposition in making that work and making sure that we are ready for net zero and not running along behind as we have for so many years in this House when the climate emergency started to become upon us.